Hello, so we are back with Mom, who wrote Penny Pinching Mama, 500 Ways I Lived on $500 a Month. And our last video, sorry, no, we got a little off subject there.
Do we even have an audience this time? We got two people watching, huh?
Nobody may be listening to us, but where we ended before we got on our little derailment there was, we are sick. These are some of the symptoms. We couldn't even eat. We couldn't fix food. And I mean, we were truly incapacitated. We really were. We had no family. Our family had literally abandoned us. We had no church. Our church, we were asked to leave the church, and then we went to a new church, and they pretty much didn't.
Not because of anything we'd done either. It was just because of Dad.
Just because of legalistic.
And not even so much Dad as the way that people reacted to Dad.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now we're going to go and talk about how, some of the things Mom did to help her go from semi-dead to semi-alive. I wouldn't say mostly alive by any stretch.
Some of the stuff that took us from being completely bedridden 24/7 to able to eat until we are what we are today, and how we can function today a little bit, because there's a lot of people out there. I know. Remember when we went to that support group, and I wasn't even going to talk about this, but when we went to that support group meeting for chronic fatigue, and I'm thinking, how do they have a support group meeting for people with chronic fatigue? We couldn't even hardly get dressed to go there. But we decided, you and I went, and this guy comes in with a suit on, and he said, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, and I have chronic fatigue, and I'm just coming here to encourage you." And somebody said, "Do you work?" "Oh, yeah, I still work." And I'm thinking, how is that possible? I can't even hold myself up in this chair to listen to him. How are you working? And you're all, up and up. Well, come to find out, the guy owned his own business. He kept a couch in his office, and he only showed up to work when he felt like it, type of thing, And I'm looking at it thinking, there's no way he can be as sick as I am. He just.
And I get that comment all the time.
Yeah.
There's no way you have chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia because you're not as sick as I am. We show you what we want you to see. This is our channel. We control what we show you. And what we don't show you is last night after the live show, I was in bed.
Yeah.
Yesterday before the live show, I was in bed.
Mm-hmm.
We don't show you that part. As a matter of fact, I almost told Mike, I said, I think you need to go live for all those people who don't believe that this is a problem. I take my Alka-Seltzer. I suck it up. I did not want to do the show last night by any stretch of the imagination. But it's got to be done. So I did.
I was laying in the bed before we started. I was laying on the bed, and I thought, do I dare call Tara and tell her I just can't do it? And what did I stop to do right before we started? I ran in and got an Alka-Seltzer, just to try it. I could tell my brain was going. And you're yawning right now while I'm talking to you. So I just, this is our life. So we are this bad. You just don't, like Tara says, you do not see that part of it. You only see a little 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or an hour of our life.
You don't see that my children and my husband go to the grocery store, and I have my groceries delivered when they don't.
Yeah.
You don't see my house as a total pit.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get on top of it. But I have to go outside and do the yard work before it gets cold. So I have to pick that 30 minutes of work over the housework that I can get done for 30 minutes.
And even like last night, we mentioned that my thrift store closed. And everybody says, oh, well, big deal. You can just go to another thrift store. It's no big. No, this thrift store was 3 minutes from my house. It was very small, very tiny. I could make it there easy and not having to drive. And by the time I get there, be sick, It was small. I could go through the store if I needed to. It's gone. I can't go shopping now. This isn't just a small thing to me. It's a big thing because the only closest places are like a 15-minute drive for me to drive. And by the time I get there, I'm too exhausted to shop.
And those are some of the things that we cope with that you don't see behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I keep telling Nike, I said, we're just going to all get a GoPro and just put it on our heads so everybody can see what our life is really,
Oh, listen, I've done nothing this week but sit in my chair because I knew we were going to do these videos, and I had to get myself built up in order to do this, to do these and everything. So
what did you
that's
do
why I'm going to do some of these. That's why I wanted to do this detailed version of our chronic fatigue stuff, so you'll understand that we do know what you're talking about, what helps us when we can, and stuff like that. And one thing I want people to know too is we aren't doctors. The things we're going to tell you about, we're just not doctors. They helped us. They might help you. They might not help you. Some things help Tara. Some things help me. Sometimes one thing will help us both. And I just lost my train of thought here. But this is a chronic illness that will not be cured. I'm sorry. I don't want to be discouraging here. But at this point, someday they might have medical something, but it looks like it may not happen. There is no cure for this.
Yeah, you have to manage it.
You have to manage this. There's no cure at this point for this illness. So if you see somebody advertise something, say, I got cured from my chronic fatigue by doing blah, blah, blah. Red light should go off.
They're trying to separate you from your money.
Yeah, because there is no cure. And if they were cured, and you've noticed they knew they were cured or something, they probably had something else.
Yeah.
If I took this or I did that, it's probably because their body was lacking in that and they didn't have chronic fatigue. Chronic fatigue, you have exhaustion, you sometimes have a fever, there's a lot of symptoms, and all those symptoms is your immune system attacking a virus that's attacking your body. There's a lot of illnesses that have similar symptoms, but that doesn't mean you've got chronic fatigue, so you have to really have these things checked out.
And just for the record, two things. One, we are 100% positive that we became ill when we contracted a virus, and we have a genetic problem in our body that for some reason kicked our immune system into overdrive, that we never got well. The Centers for Disease Control has confirmed this, and several other people, and there's a genetic component that kicked in that caused this. The second thing is, I am begging you, do not comment, do not email me. If I eat organic foods, if I eat grass-fed this or grass-fed that, if I only take this,
if I stop using these cleaners, if I stop doing that,
if I take this product to detoxify, I have tried, Mom has not, I have tried it all. And it has helped.
But I tried, remember the bee stuff? I tried, the lady that got cured from the bee stuff, and I almost died. I had cold sores. I was in bed. I thought, what's happening here? And she said she got cured from it. Bee pollen or gel or something. And so we were taking turns. I would try some stuff. Tara would try some stuff. Well, that stuff backfired big time. You remember? So we have tried it. We've tried it.
So I appreciate your thoughtfulness.
Well, and you know what?
But don't send me more organic stuff.
It might be that you had some issue that's helped you with, and that's good. That's good. But it's not helped this sickness. And you keep saying chronic fatigue, but it's called chronic fatigue syndrome. Because other people think chronic fatigue, like, oh, I stay up late watching movies, and so I'm always tired. And it's not the same thing.
Yeah. No, it's not. And I'm glad you pointed that out, Michael. And one thing, too, another point I want to make here is, if there was a cure for cancer, do you know it would be on every news station, all over the newspapers, all over the internet? You would read it everywhere if there was a cure for cancer.
It would not be promoted by just certain websites that have weird-looking
and the same
Google
thing
ads.
with chronic fatigue syndrome. It would be all over air because there's enough people that have it now. It would be everywhere. So unless it gets to that point, what you're hearing is not probably going to work.
There's another thing. If somebody's telling you this is really going to help you, because it helps chronic fatigue syndrome and cancer and heart disease and liver and kidney disease and depression and ADD. Nothing cures everything.
Yeah.
If it's something that has that just it works for everything, it's totally snake oil. It's a scam.
Yeah. And one other thing, we aren't saying, just for the record, that if you have been diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome and or fibromyalgia, that you shouldn't try some of these things. Some people have been diagnosed with these things. It's a misdiagnosis, and these other things will help. And if it helps you, that's fine. That's great. I think you should at least try it. But
be careful.
Be careful.
Be aware.
Don't expect miracles. Hope for a miracle, but don't expect miracles. And
don't be gullible.
Just don't. One more. The organic food really gets on our nerves because every day we have people telling us that we got sick because we were eating inorganic foods. We did not.
But you know what? What happened to the other 300,000 people in Wichita that didn't get sick or eating inorganic foods?
I know.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. So it
you
wasn't.
About this.
It wasn't the house. It wasn't the water. It wasn't fluoride. We actually came down with some sort of a virus that attacked our body. But
we were on the program for the Centers for Disease Control. They chose us out of 500 people to be on their study. And of that 500 people, only 80 were chosen. That's how many people didn't really have it. Only 80 of 500. So that's not a big percentage. So, you know, we were chosen, and we have the blood documentation. We have doctors. We have psychiatrists. We have everything that proves what we said about what we have. But you were talking about the snake oil. Every time you say, you know, it cures this, I think of the doctor on Wizard of Oz. A lot of people don't remember. They see the big, great and mighty Oz, you know, in the movie, but they forget he had a little piece there at the very beginning of the movie where he was selling a snake oil, and he was saying, this will cure this and this will cure that. And I know people years ago, you say, oh, look at those silly people buying that snake oil from him. He's saying it's going to cure all this different stuff. And people would laugh and say, look at people are actually buying that. I can't believe people would buy that, you know. But yet we do it nowadays. We do it nowadays just with, you know, on different things. So,
and okay, yes, that just we have been tested for Lyme. So
yes.
just get that cleared out. We've been tested 300 different ways for Lyme. So, yeah.
We've been tested for almost every, as a matter of fact, that's why we got accepted too. We were tested for everything, diabetes, well, everything, because they didn't want us to be on the program if we had any close thing of another illness. We had to be totally, completely healthy, mentally and physically and emotionally, just totally healthy.
Sorry, back on the snake oil thing again real quick. If you go to a website somewhere and you find something and someone says, this is this amazing secret thing that we've discovered and we've sold 100,000 of these to people, don't you think a doctor whose job it is to solve that sickness would not have tried to see if that actually works?
Worked?
So
I know, I thought that too.
There is a danger in the desire to be well so much that you will completely bankrupt yourself over things that don't make any sense. So you have to be really careful because, you're feeling bad. And this person says, I'm going to cure you. But that doesn't mean that person has your well-being at the center of their mind. That person is basically thinking, how can I sell a little bit more of this product?
You know, I saw a thing on TV. It's a regular commercial that's on all the time. And I went to my doctor and I said, now I saw this. Would this work for me? It's a product I won't mention because it would embarrass Michael, I'm sure. But I said, would this thing work for me? And the doctor said, I have seen that. And he said, no. He said, a lot of people are being, you know, fooled because what this thing was, my doctor told me all the reasons why this thing wouldn't work. And I thought, oh, my goodness, that is not a good thing then. You know, you don't, because there's things they didn't mention on the commercial that you have problems with and stuff like that does not work right at all compared to the thing the doctor would use instead, in place of it, you know, type of thing. So, all right. Well, I'll go ahead. Do you want me to go ahead and get started now?
Yes, get started on the video.
If we got on another...
Should we cut that one and make it another video?
Okay, go ahead.
Here. Okay. 3 things happened it was about a year into our illness, and nothing had changed. Nothing had changed whatsoever. The kids were doing slightly better, or they could go to school maybe once, like twice a week, maybe once in a while, just once in a while when they could. And but at this point in time, it was like I had 3 things happened all within just a very small, short period. And I want to say something here too. We tend to forget not our bodies, we are made up of 3 areas. We're made up of our body, our physical body. We're made up of our emotions and our mind. And we're made up of our spiritual body. And if you have any one of those out of balance, if you're concentrating on one section of your your being and not the other 2, and you get those way out of balance, you're going to be off whack. It's going to be off whack, and you're not going to be able to function. And I'll warn you guys, we're going to get in trouble for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you're worrying about the food you eat, like if I eat this or I eat that, we're reading all the health food from the health food stores things. We're watching things on YouTube, doing all this research about the food I'm eating. I had a woman give me a comment. It was like a 3 to 4 paragraph comment on red dye, and she was flipping out because I said something about giving one of the kids some Kool-Aid one time. And I mean, she was flipping out. And I thought, this poor lady doesn't realize the stress she just caused herself by writing that paragraph about the red dye caused her more damage in her, inside of her than anything that red dye was going to do to her. And she caused damage to her family if she was that stressed all the time over her food. So she had things out of balance. She was causing heavy-duty stress because she was trying to fix this so much and concentrate on her body. You can even do that with with so many people. They spend more time studying their foods than they do their Bible. They spend more time reading what the ingredients are on their foods than they do on their Bible.
Wait. So the other day, we were talking about emergency preparedness, about the hurricane, and if you're going to die. And Tara and I were talking about water. And Tara was saying, people said, what do you do to make sure the water doesn't go bad? And Tara said, well, you could take a whole gallon of water and put like 2 drops of bleach in. This one lady's like, bleach will kill you, writing it in like all caps. And I'm thinking, you're going to die from no water, from the hurricane.
You're going to die from bacteria in contaminated water. Get over it.
2 drops of bleach in a gallon of water in an emergency isn't going to kill you.
No.
And how much bleach? How many millions, people of lives have been saved by using bleach properly?
But what I'm saying is, people have it out of perspective when, like you with the dye, when they completely flip out about how this bleach is going to completely lead to your death, when if you don't drink for 3 days, you're dead.
Yeah. Like that's exactly what I'm talking about.
You'd be better off drinking water out of a ditch than not drinking anything at all. I mean, you probably get cholera, but still, that's why you put the 2 drops of bleach in there.
Bleach wouldn't kill you; you'll die from cholera.
Bleach,
cholera, and that's of course here we go again. But I've never heard of anybody. Well, never. I better not say anything more. I won't say anything more right here
but
because
I was just saying it.
Yes, no,
I'm glad that's
exactly the point I'm making. You get things so out of balance, and not even that, but I have to have a shower every single day. That's fine if everything's fine in your life, if everything's working fine. I know Michael does, but and there's no reason why you can't take a shower.
To wake it up. If we didn't have water, he
exactly.
would not take
That's
a shower.
The point I'm trying to make. That's perfectly fine to take a shower every day. Michael does. Michael loves to, and that's fine if everything is balanced out and okay. But if you spend more time, we worry about our bodies, what we're putting in it. We worry about getting it showered. We spend an hour and a half getting our hair fixed, our makeup, doing all that. But heaven forbid we spend 20 minutes reading our Bible in the morning. We don't have time for that, but we have time to do the elaborate shower, hair, makeup, getting the right outfit together. So in a case like that, we're out of whack. Our spiritual life is lacking, but our physical life is getting concentrated on so much, and we got to be really careful. I had to get things in balance where I wasn't just concentrating on my illness. I had to do a little bit of everything. I had to get you have to get the emotions out of control or under control. You can't be angry all the time. You can't be fearful. Oh, I'm so afraid this is going to happen. If I don't do this, if I don't do that, this is going to happen to me. Then you're out of whack. And when you're fearful like that, you cause your body to get sick. It doesn't cause your body to get sick, but it can cause it to be ill. It can cause it to feel worse, type of thing, and physical things to happen. So the point is, keep balance on your spiritual, emotional, and that. And I wanted to bring that up too, because I was being attacked. How do I want to say this? To start out with the three things that happened. The first one was a spiritual thing. I was laying on the couch. This has been a year into the illness, crying and mad and angry and crying. And I'm saying, all right, why did you do this? What did I do wrong? I had just tried to serve you, dear God, and I was going down this list of what a wonderful, daughter I am. How perfect I am for you, dear God. Look what I did for you, dear God. You know how you do, having a good old royal pity party. And I said, this is not fair. My children are sick. I'm sick. And I tried everything. And this is how I tried to be honorable in my debts and pay them off. And I get them paid off. And you cause this to happen? And I'm just blathering on. I'm blathering on. And he's letting me vent. He always lets me vent like this for 30 minutes or more. I always amazed how he lets me get it all out. Dad used to do that too. So wise husband, let your wife vent. She needs it. But I went and
I got something to say about. Oh, just kidding.
So I let it all spill out, and I was laying there just even more zapped because emotionally I was just done in. I could just sneeze and I could get zapped, but I was really zapped now, and it was like God said to me. He said, you can be sick. He said, just relax and be sick. Now, nobody ever said be sick. They said, you need to take care of yourself. You need to get better. You need to try to do this. God said, you can be sick. I want you to be sick. Right now, at this time, it's okay. I don't want you to, but he said it's okay that you can be sick. And I got to thinking, I realized then, at this point in my life, this was God's plan for me. This was his plan. And I had this plan all made out. I had everything paid off. I was going to start this great job and we were going to have money now. That was my plan. But this was God's plan. And he said, just relax, go with the flow. This is my plan. And if you think about it, at first I felt like I'd done something wrong. What did I do wrong? Or why don't you love me? None of those things. You can be sick and God still loves you. And you may not have done anything wrong. But yet Satan loves to attack us that way. And if you look in Job, and I'm telling you this because of the three things that happen, all affect the three different areas of my being, my emotional, my spiritual, and my body. Now I found this, I didn't realize this till long after it happened. But in Job, what did God said? You can do anything you want to Job, and I know good and well he's going to still love me, and be faithful. God had confidence in Job. He will do this. And Satan started on his rampage. He took away Job's children, but his house was destroyed. He lost basically his job. He lost all of his money. He had no money whatsoever. Now that's enough to destroy a normal person, but Job still clung to God. He went, and then the next thing he started doing was the stuff like the emotional kind of stuff, like his friends. Well, Job, what did you do? You need to get your act together. And so Job's feeling really bad about himself. Our friends help with our emotional level an awful lot, and our mind, and the friends were attacking Job, and you should be doing this. And his wife attacked him. It's like, why don't you just give up and deny God and die, basically, Job, just give it all up. But the very last thing that happened to Job was he got the sores all over his body. He was so sick with the sores, sitting there scraping the sores. But he still didn't deny God. So what Satan, it seems like there's a pattern what Satan does to Christians that really love. I'm not saying I'm no different. We're no different from anybody else. We're normal Christians. And every Christian will go through probably these things at some point, but he tries to attack you spiritually or through your financial stuff, the body, the body stuff, but he tries to attack you emotionally too. He's going to hit the emotions, and it's like and try to get you to deny God and try to attack you spiritually. And then it's almost like a last resort that happened to Job. It's the physical with the sores and the am I making sense?
Yeah.
The physical. And sometimes you've not done anything wrong. And it's not that you've eaten anything wrong. It's not that God's angry at you. You got to think of maybe God's proud of you. And maybe he knows that you're going to love him.
Well, and
you're going to
do something like, quite frankly, if we would have never gotten sick, there would be no living on a dime.
No, that's what I was going to say.
We would not be here if it wasn't for us getting sick.
There would be no book of Job. Look how many times Job has comforted people over the years.
Well, and this might not make you feel better in your physical situation, but God, if you're a Christian, God thinks bigger than the little life that we have here. I forgot which pastor it was, but there was a really famous guy who has this giant long rope with a tiny little red thing on it. And he's like, this tiny little red thing, this is your life. And this rope is eternity going on and on and on. And the thing is that God has it in the perspective that one person spending that eternity in paradise and not in torment is really valuable.
Yeah.
And so if it turns out that your struggle in that little piece saves people's lives eternally, then I think God thinks, later on when you're looking back, this is going to be like nothing to you. You're not even going to remember this moment.
Yeah.
And it's hard when you're in that moment now, but that's why he may sometimes let things happen, because he knows that in the long run, where it really matters, it's going to be better for you and others.
And not only that, Michael, but even for now, he draws so close to you when he allows you to go through things. And you're so much closer to him in one sense. He's close. He loves all of his kids and everything, but it's like the example I used when I love Tara and David both, but when Tara fell down or David fell down, I run over and grab the one that fell and hold them and comfort them and say, it's going to be okay. And he wraps you in his arms, and it's all not that bad. You're wrapped in God's arms and you're closer to him, a lot of times in those moments. And, you have that. So these things can be a blessing too. It doesn't feel like it always, but you can always look back and see where it was a blessing and everything. And so at this time, when he told me another thing, to just be sick, you can be sick, it was like this burden had been lifted off of me. I had done nothing to make myself sick. We'd eaten healthy, I had everything. I'd done nothing. And so it was like he gave me permission that I could be sick. And when that happened, all the guilt I felt from being a horrible mom. What was going to happen to my kids? I couldn't feed my kids. Do you know what that feels like, being a mom?
Actually, most Americans don't know what that's like. That's the problem.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And, let alone not get the laundry done, the house, I could do nothing for him. Tara was in high school, all the fun things that high schoolers do, I could do nothing. She was wanting to do things, I could do nothing to help. The guilt was overwhelming. I couldn't even hardly help. I couldn't help them with their homework. I was checked out. I wasn't even there for them. And I was so guilty. And when it was like God said, you can be sick, that just disappeared. It was like I couldn't do anything about it. God was going to take care of it. What I could do, I would do, but God was going to take care of it. If the house wasn't clean, he was going to do it. And I can look back now. My kids, they're wonderful kids. Look, your brother would be here and say he was the best.
Perfect, dear.
I don't want her to cover her ears up so she won't get the big head, Michael. No, but my kids still love me. I thought they would never love me. They still love me. They don't consider me a total failure. Do you? They speak to me on a real regular basis, very regular. They turned out fine. Not only did they turn out fine, they turned out really good. And they probably turned out better than if I had my fingers in the pie the whole time and not turned them over to God. You know what I mean? They're responsible, good adults. And so he took care of that. Another thing, too, that I want to mention, I was laying there, a vegetable, and all that I could do, the pain was so great, was watch TV. And I was very careful about the shows I watched, but some of this stuff, it just pops up on there. Even back then, it would just pop up on commercials, and they would integrate it into good shows would have a point to make. They wanted to, even it wasn't politically correct back then, but they still had they wanted to prove a point type of thing. And I've been laying for a year now listening. Actually, I've been listening to it since I was in high school. And before I'd fought it and I'd been okay, but now I was sick, I heard these talk show women, these strong, powerful, successful, that had lots of money, they're famous women. You can climb Mount Everest. You write down your 5-year goal and you don't let anything stop you, because you can climb Mount Everest. You can run a 25-mile marathon. Don't let anything stop you. You stick to that goal no matter what. We don't care what happens in your life. And I'm laying there. I cannot literally pick my nose, and they want me to climb Mount Everest. I mean, besides that, if you think about it, why would I want to climb Mount Everest? Now, I don't want to offend anybody who maybe wants to climb Mount Everest, but why in the world would I want to do this? I would probably fall and skin my knees. I would freeze to death. It would be so cold and uncomfortable. I'd get snowburn, sunburn. I'd have to jump over these rocks and twist an ankle probably. My muscles would get sore. Who wants to sleep in a freezing tent on top of Mount Everest? And the critters, not to name the bugs, the creepy bugs I would run into. Why would I want to climb Mount Everest? But they told me I wanted to climb Mount Everest and I should be climbing Mount Everest. I don't want to. I want to sit here at home
and pick my nose.
Take care of my house. And what?
And pick my nose.
And pick my nose. I would be grateful to pick my nose. Who's wanting to climb Mount Everest? I didn't want to go skydiving. There was no.
I'm sorry. Feminists have ruined it for women. It's really.
Well, you know what
We'll get on one of these videos one of these days, but I can guarantee you, I have absolutely zero respect for.
You know what I found out that day? They talk about we have to help our young girls get their self-esteem and their confidence back up. We tell them they can climb Mount Everest. I thought, no, what you're doing is you're setting up a standard that God didn't even expect me to climb to. God didn't even expect this of me. And I can't reach it. And I admit I cannot reach it. I could never in a million years climb Mount Everest, and I admit it. I'm not ashamed to admit it. And that makes these young girls think, what is wrong with me? When they go and they get to the base of Mount Everest, they trip and fall and break their leg, and they think they're a failure now.
And just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it.
You should do it.
You know?
Or that's what God made you to do or wants you to do, you know? So I had just been browbeaten by these women. You know, I'm not a success because I don't have an 8-year education. I'm not a success because I don't have $10 million in my bank account. I'm not a success because my kids aren't going to the finest colleges in the world. No, that has nothing to do with being a success. I'm laying on the couch dying. No, I'm not a success here at all. But that didn't mean I was a failure. And it was like in those moments, that's what God told me when he said, you can be sick. You don't need to be climbing Mount Everest. You can be sick. And I was so excited that I learned that. And so that just changed. The guilt went away. I relaxed because I just could lay here. I could lay here and enjoy being sick now. I didn't have to do anything. He provided my $8,000 for me to live off of for a while. And as soon as it ran out, I knew he would figure something else for me. I could relax.
Okay. All right, so we're going to stop there. That's Mike's, we got to stop signal.
We've been rambling on, so we're going to have to cut this up even more.
So we'll come back. Check out Penny Pinching Mama, 500 Ways I Lived on $500 a Month. Please like, subscribe, and share, and visit us at Living on a Dime, and we'll be back with the rest of the story.
Bye-bye.